deserve a straight answer. And if you haven't figured it out yet, the straight answer is they are going to pack the Supreme Court if they somehow win this election. Men and women, I got to tell you, people across this country, if you cherish our Supreme Court, if you cherish the separation of powers, you need to reject the Biden-Harris ticket. Come November the 3rd, re-elect President Donald Trump, and we'll stand by that separation of powers in a 9-seat Supreme Court.
Yeah. Wallace's absurd takeaway from last night's debate was he thought Kamala Harris was presidential.
I think going into tonight, the Biden campaign had one concern, and it wasn't whether or not Kamala Harris was going to be sufficiently likable. It was whether or not people would be able at the end of the night to envision her being a heartbeat away from the presidency. Would she, in terms of her knowledge, her command of the facts, her policy, would she seem presidential? And I don't think she did anything tonight at all to disqualify herself in that sense.
I'm not sure what debate he was watching. And America woke up this morning to the Commission on Presidential Debates unilaterally deciding that the next debate, which was slated for October 16th, would be virtual. Something, well, it's a non-starter for the president.
Beat him in the first debate. At the second debate, we have a never-Trumper as a host, but that's okay because I beat him in the second debate also. And but I'm not going to do a virtual debate.
Yeah, well, it looks like the president's tactic there might have made some shifting possible. Trump campaign released this statement, which says that it agreed with the Biden campaign to a second face-to-face debate on the 22nd and a third debate on the 29th. As the president says, we will see what happens. For more on this, we are now joined by our very own Sean Spicer. His show, Spicer & Company, comes on right after us here on Newsmax TV, 6 o'clock in the evening Eastern. Sean has a new book out, Leading America, President Trump's Commitment to People, Patriotism, and Capitalism. It comes... Hey, man.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great, Sean. Thank you very much. Hey, before we get to the VP debate, we have some breaking news on the next presidential debate. After a back and forth today between the campaigns, it seems both camps are now saying October 22nd is looking good for a town hall. Nothing definite. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that's right. We're going to have Alyssa Farr on the show in just a minute, the White House communications director, to talk to her about this. But look, I agree with you. The idea that we woke up this morning at 7:31, the Commission on Presidential Debates unilaterally deciding that everything that had been pre-negotiated by these two campaigns was going to be thrown out the window, and they were deciding that the next debate was going to be like some kind of Zoom call. That's insane. It's ridiculous, and it's an insult to the American people. The president and the vice president should stand on stage and make their cases to the American people. And I'm glad that these two individuals worked it out and that they sat the presidential commission debate aside. But frankly, this was what the Biden campaign wanted, Chris. The Biden campaign had been pushing subtly to say that they didn't want to do a second debate, and the presidential commission on debates was doing their bidding for them. I'm glad that the president did what he did. What he did was pure negotiation. He stood up, said, I'm not going to do it, and walked away. And then everyone scurried back to the table, and he got what he wanted right away. And that was smart.
Well, before we get to the nuts and bolts and what your key takeaway was from last night's debate, the moderators, I thought Susan Page was a cut above Chris Wallace. What's your evaluation on the moderators thus far?
I think that Susan did a better job. I think there's two ways that I looked into the job that she did. One is, how did she manage the time? And I think she did it fairly well. She reminded them, that they had 2 minutes, and she kept things going. I think the questions that she asked, particularly towards the end, were very, very left-leaning. It was very much sort of against Mike Pence, against issues of life and things that conservatives believe and stand for. So I think you have to look at a moderator in two ways. One is how they conducted themselves vis-a-vis the candidates, making sure that time was handled equitably, et cetera, and then the questions that they ask. And I think that, once again, conservatives end up on the short end of the stick when it comes to questions. There's a lot of stuff. The other thing is, look, as Mike Pence said over and over again last night, she's entitled to her opinions, not her facts. When she kept saying over and over again, let me be clear, Barack Obama would not overturn fracking. It took you 2 seconds to play those clips on your show just a moment ago. Anybody with an eye, he said it multiple times in the primary debates with Kamala Harris on the stage. They talked about how they don't embrace the Green New Deal. It's on their website, Chris. I don't get how you can honestly say that as a moderator, at some point you say, ma'am, we actually have the internet. We see what's on your website. You can't say that.
Yeah, and I thought Susan Page, to her credit, again, Chris Wallace was such a low bar. I mean, she actually pointed out that the website, excuse me, you said you didn't support the Green New Deal, but on your website it says you do. So, what's with the dual messages here?
What website is that? Oh, I think that's an old site. We're updating it. I mean, I don't What I think the takeaway from last night is that everyone gets their head wrapped around fracking. And I think if you live in West Virginia, Ohio, or Pennsylvania, understandably so. But what every voter should understand is that this administration, a Harris-Biden administration, will do and say anything to get your vote. They will not tell you what they're going to do on court packing for a reason, because they don't want you to know. Vote for us. It's sort of like, remember the old saying, Nancy Pelosi said, vote for the bill and then we can read it afterwards? They're saying to us right now, vote for us, and then we'll tell you what we're for later.
Perfectly brilliant analysis. By the way, I'm holding in my hand a gift that came in the mail from me yesterday, Leading America, President Trump's commitment to people, patriotism, and capitalism. Thank you for the note, by the way. It was very kind. And I just wanted to ask you about one of the themes
in your Day, Chris. And I thought, hey, I got a book coming out.
I got my Christmas list coming too, by the way. But I just thought it struck me just by looking at the title that in this day and age, we conservatives and the President of the United States has to defend capitalism in the United States of America because the other party is decidedly anti-capitalism.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, the idea, and part of what I talk about in the book is the fact that, like, if you look at it in isolation, there's one comment here, one thing there, one thing there. You've got to stop and look at it in its totality. In corporate America, in governance, in academia, in Hollywood, we are being taken further and further to the left, further and further towards socialism. And if we don't stop and pay attention to what's going on in our kids' schools, what's happening in the advertising that's hitting us through, online and on TV, that we suddenly wake up one day and we go, how did we get here? The book is an opportunity for people to understand the direction that we're headed in, but more importantly, what President Trump and others are doing to stop it.
Sean Spicer on right after the Chris Salcedo Show, sir. Always a pleasure to talk with you. Come back soon. We'll chat again.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them. Tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.